Today, we're unpacking a major energy policy shock out of Washington, D.C. On October 2nd, 2025, the U.S. Department of Energy announced that it would cancel $1 billion in federal funding for the Pacific Northwest Hydrogen Hub. This funding cut is part of a broader $7.56 billion rollback in clean energy spending, primarily affecting projects in Democrat-led states. The decision immediately sent ripples through the energy and investment communities. Hydrogen, long heralded as a key pillar of the U.S. clean energy transition, now faces serious political and financial uncertainty. The Pacific Northwest Hydrogen Hub was slated to receive $1 billion from the federal government as part of a larger $5 to $6 billion investment involving private partners in Washington, Oregon, and Montana. This hub was envisioned as a central node for green hydrogen production, enabling low-carbon energy solutions for sectors like transportation, agriculture, and heavy industry. Officials framed the cuts as a fiscally responsible measure. OMB Director Russell Vought called the funding an $8 billion Green New Scam on X, highlighting the political narrative that these investments are costly, politically motivated, and inefficient. Energy Secretary Chris Wright echoed this, stating the cuts align with former President Trump's campaign promise to protect taxpayers and expand cheap, reliable energy. However, the move has triggered intense backlash. Governor Bob Ferguson of Washington called the decision punishing blue states, while congressional Democrats, including Representative Suzan DelBene and Representative Kim Schrier, characterized the cuts as politically motivated and vowed to fight them. This tension underscores the broader reality. U.S. clean energy policy remains highly volatile, especially under administrations that prioritize fiscal conservatism and traditional energy sources over renewables. For the hydrogen industry, this decision represents a major setback. Projects tied to Nippon Dynawave, Paccar, CleanFiber, Washington State University, Silfab Solar, and other key partners are now left in limbo. The broader implication, the United States' ambitions in green hydrogen, a sector critical to meeting climate goals, are suddenly uncertain. Investors, energy developers, and policymakers will be watching closely to see whether these programs can be salvaged or whether the U.S. will cede ground to other countries in hydrogen technology leadership. The headline here is clear. $1 billion for the Pacific Northwest Hydrogen Hub is officially cancelled. This isn't an isolated cut. It's part of a broader $7.56 billion reduction in clean energy funding. Analysts note that these cuts disproportionately target projects in Democrat-led states, raising questions about the intersection of energy policy and politics in Washington. The Pacific Northwest Hub was conceived as a cornerstone of U.S. hydrogen strategy. Federal funding was expected to catalyze private investments totaling $5 to $6 billion. The hub aimed to develop production sites across Washington, Oregon, and Montana, producing green hydrogen that could be used in industrial processes, heavy transportation, and even electricity storage. Without federal backing, many of these projects face immediate financial uncertainty. Hydrogen advocates warn this will delay the U.S.'s ability to lead in clean energy technologies as other countries such as Germany, Japan, and Australia are aggressively investing in hydrogen infrastructure. The cut also raises concerns about supply chain continuity. Equipment, electrolyzers, pipelines, and storage facilities were all planned around expected federal investment. With funding gone, project timelines could be delayed by years. Critics argue that such cuts may undermine the credibility of the U.S. as a stable partner for clean energy development. Potential foreign investors may hesitate to commit to projects in the United States if federal funding and policy support are subject to abrupt reversal based on political priorities. The White House has defended the cuts as part of a fiscal and energy policy strategy. OMB Director Russell Vought framed the program as an $8 billion Green New Scam, a pointed critique aimed at reducing federal expenditure on clean energy projects deemed politically motivated or inefficient. Energy Secretary Chris Wright reinforced the administration's message, claiming the cuts align with efforts to protect taxpayers while expanding cheap, reliable energy. From the administration's perspective, federal investment in hydrogen hubs represents a high-risk, politically charged venture, and cutting funding is framed as a necessary act of fiscal discipline. In Washington, D.C., budget battles often pit fiscal conservatives against proponents of green energy, and hydrogen projects have become a focal point in these debates. The White House argues that renewable energy subsidies can distort markets, redirect resources from traditional energy sources, and impose costs on taxpayers. By focusing on low-cost, reliable energy, the administration seeks to maintain energy security while projecting an image of prudent governance. However, many critics see this as political maneuvering rather than a neutral cost-benefit analysis, especially given the cuts disproportionately affect Democrat-led states. Hydrogen technology is often hailed as the next frontier in decarbonization. The Pacific Northwest Hydrogen Hub was designed to produce green hydrogen through electrolysis, powered by renewable electricity, and distribute it across industrial, transportation, and energy sectors. Without federal funding, many of these projects face delays, cancellations, or scaling back. This includes partnerships with Nippon Dynawave, Paccar, CleanFiber, Washington State University, and Silfab Solar. The hub was envisioned as a model project demonstrating how private and public sectors can collaborate to build a domestic hydrogen economy. Its cancellation sends a chilling signal to other potential investors. U.S. federal support for hydrogen projects is unpredictable and politically contingent. The Pacific Northwest was strategically chosen for its abundant renewable energy resources, hydropower, wind, and solar, which would have provided clean electricity for electrolysis. This region was expected to become a hydrogen export hub, supplying fuel for transportation, industrial processes, and even export to Asia-Pacific markets. Removing federal backing undermines these strategic ambitions. Hydrogen advocates also warn of technological stagnation. The cancelled funding would have accelerated deployment of next-generation electrolyzers, storage solutions, and pipeline infrastructure. Without it, U.S. companies may lag behind international competitors already investing heavily in green hydrogen R&D and industrial-scale production. Political leaders in Washington state reacted strongly to the cuts. Governor Bob Ferguson denounced the decision, calling it a punishment against blue states for their political alignment. Congressional representatives Suzan DelBene and Schrier echoed this sentiment, labeling the cuts as politically motivated and pledging to fight for the reinstatement of funds. This controversy highlights a broader tension in U.S. energy policy. Clean energy projects often depend on federal support, yet such funding can become a political football. States with progressive policies, particularly those investing heavily in renewable energy infrastructure, are more vulnerable to funding reversals under administrations prioritizing traditional energy or fiscal conservatism. Critics argue that such politically motivated cuts undermine long-term planning and investor confidence, as energy developers must now navigate uncertain federal support while attempting to attract private capital. The cancellation also raises concerns about interstate equity, as some regions are disproportionately affected, threatening to shift the locus of clean energy development to more politically aligned states. The industry fallout is significant. Beyond the Pacific Northwest Hydrogen Hub, federal funding for projects with companies like Nippon Dynawave, Paccar, CleanFiber, and Silfab Solar has been pulled. Universities and research institutions, including Washington State University, face disruptions in research, staffing, and collaborations. The broader implications are clear. The U.S.'s green hydrogen strategy faces setbacks, slowing deployment, innovation, and investment. Globally, countries like Germany, Japan, and Australia are advancing their hydrogen infrastructure, and the U.S. risks losing technological leadership in this strategically critical sector. This episode also highlights the political volatility of U.S. energy policy. The abrupt cancellation demonstrates how federal support can be contingent on political priorities, leaving long-term clean energy projects exposed. For investors, developers, and policymakers, this unpredictability underscores the importance of risk assessment, diversification, and international collaboration in pursuing hydrogen and other renewable energy technologies. The Pacific Northwest Hydrogen Hub was meant to be a model for future hubs, demonstrating how private-public partnerships can accelerate clean energy transitions. Its sudden cancellation raises questions about the feasibility of achieving large-scale, domestic green hydrogen production in the near term. In conclusion, this funding cut serves as a stark reminder. While hydrogen promises a cleaner energy future, politics, funding volatility, and administrative priorities will continue to shape how quickly and effectively this potential can be realized.